welcome back to Fit to Live Radio. It's episode 8. We are out in East Lansing at Spartan CrossFit. Good time.
Yep, we got a few special guests today. We have Chris Hassan.
All right.
Chris is from CrossFit Justice in Milford on the east side of the state, and he is going to teach us about ticker training today.
For sure, dude.
So we're going to get a lot of info on that. It's going to be really cool. And then we are guests of Sema, who's the owner of Spartan CrossFit here in Lansing. So Sema's got some athletic...
Got some pedigree
here. She's how well did you do in the Masters division?
Last year I got second.
Okay, so Sema's pretty fit. And she's really nice, and you wouldn't ever think that she is like some awesome athlete because she just treats you real well. So,
oh, thank you. Thank you.
She's very humble. Yeah, it's on record. We're going to talk about ticker training today. That's the goal. And then we'll talk about traditional CrossFit programming and kind of maybe weigh in on each of those. And then we'll kind of get some perspective on, what Sema thinks as being a seasoned vet and being really fit and having success with that program and get some leeway on that. So before we jump into all that, news and events, Halloween is coming up Thursday the 31st.
It's a Saturday.
That's a Saturday.
Yeah, even better.
We got to count too. It's definitely Saturday.
Okay, definitely Saturday. Don't worry, we're live. Mistakes are going to happen. Forgive me. So it's a Saturday. So if you are in friction, you can have a free workout if you wear a costume.
And you bring a friend.
So come on in. It should be a great time. Always fun to see people dress up and have fun. So keep in mind, if you are going to work out in a costume, just,
be wary.
Be wary of it. Don't suffocate. We're wearing masks right now, so you're going to suffocate anyways. But just make sure you can move your arms and legs around. And then outdoor movie night, that is coming up on the 24th of this month. So we're planning on that being outdoors. So have some comfy clothes, bring a lawn chair, bring some snacks. The film is Hocus Pocus. So
Great Hocus Pocus.
some people haven't seen that in the gym, which is amazing to me.
I've never seen it.
I've
Never
not
seen
seen
it.
it either.
24th.
Get into
1
it.
hour.
2 hour drive.
Yes.
I will try.
90-minute films. Mostly worth it. Get you into the Halloween spirit, so check that out. And then the other thing we have going on this month, Tuesday, it's definitely a Tuesday, October 20th at 5:30 p.m. for the next 6 weeks is going to be the kettlebell specialty course. So if you, like many people in the world right now, are starting a home gym, one of the best pieces of equipment to start with is a kettlebell. But you need to learn how to use it. So we've got a coach that is going to be teaching that every Tuesday, and then you get 2 homework assignments that you can do at the gym with open gym access there, and basically learn how to master the kettlebell. So it's a focus on kettlebell technique as well as strength in the kettlebell. So you're going to breathe a little bit, but it's not necessarily a conditioning course. We want to get you to have really good technique and develop some strength there. And if you're curious about more on that, our previous episode, number 7, gives a lot of details on that. So check that out if you're interested. But we are going to jump into the topic for today, which is ticker training. So, Mr. Chris, take it away. What is ticker training and how does it work?
So ticker training is basically heart rate based training for CrossFit. So I get to see everybody's heart rate up on our monitors. We've got a couple different screens. We set them up during their on-ramp process, and we help them figure out what we call their MAF. So MAF. I went the longest time thinking it was math, like mathematics. There is some math involved. So I was embarrassed to admit that I did not know what your MAF was. It's basically your max aerobic function, where everyone's body functions well while burning fat as a fuel source. So I try to keep people in that zone for a significant amount of their day, at least their session with us. There's a time and place for high intensity. It's just not every single day. So it's kind of cool. Get some balance in there, burn some fat, lose some weight, and feel good while doing it.
Awesome.
Fun.
So I have a couple questions off of that. One,
Please.
we kind of talked
Yeah,
about it.
definitely.
You said it's a bit of a process to start that for a client.
Yeah.
Can you explain that process of getting started with ticker training? And then my other question is,
Totally.
well, what's a class experience like? And kind of paint the picture for.
Sure. So let's go class experience first, because I think that's what most people like. What am I going to do when I come to you?
Yeah.
It's kind of like any other CrossFit class. If you've seen, like, you watch a YouTube video or watch someone's intro on like on your websites or whatever, get your general warm up. Usually not zone related. We usually do some kind of strength piece. We do your Metcon, which is the thing that makes CrossFit. CrossFit, for those of you out there, like, what's a Metcon? It's just a circuit. And then we do a cool down, where some places you're like, nope, see you later, you're done. We try to go through all 4 of those pieces every single day. And of course, there will be a brief or the descriptive part of like, hey, here's the stimulus. This is the intended purpose of today's session. This is what you should feel like. And if you don't, it's my job to help put you in that right place, respectfully.
Yeah.
And then your other question.
Always known as coaching.
Right? Always known as
Please
coaching.
slow down.
Exactly, yeah. And that's what we do a lot of times. It's like, here's how we can help you slow down without bruising somebody's ego.
Yeah.
Because they might watch the CrossFit Games every once a year, and like they think that's what we do. That's not even close to what we do.
Yeah.
And so it's just this re-education process, both during on-ramp and those first couple weeks. And so that kind of leads us into how do we figure out their range or their math, okay? The easiest way to do that is 180 minus your age is your math. For a long time, probably the last 40, 50 years, we've heard 220 minus your age is your max heart rate. Those are completely different numbers, okay? So the 220 was just like rounded up at one point because it was nice and pretty and it looked convenient. That number from the very beginning, if you read Dr. Maffetone's book, came out 30 years ago, is wrong. His book is great. The number was wrong, and it stuck. So we've been operating off of wrong data for a very long time. So you take 180, 40 beats less, subtract their age, and say this is where your optimal zone of burning fat is.
Yeah.
Not where you have to work and work and work and work. That person's like, oh, you mean they don't have to die? Like, no. You get to like move and breathe and chill out and feel good. And yes, later we'll add some intensity when you can handle it. But in the very beginning, that's our process in on-ramp is like, hey, we go through your session 1, session 2, session 3. Let's figure out your numbers so you're ready for your very first session, hopefully within the first week. They should know what that number is.
Yeah.
So when I can say, hey, look at the board, where are you? And they're not there, like, oh. And they usually like pump the brakes a little bit and say, don't stop. Stopping's not gonna do anything. Like if you're doing air squats and you're just crushing it, like just hold on, like, oh, stop. No, don't stop. Just teach your body that this squat, one of the easiest movements that we do, is an easy recoverable movement. That you don't have to keep crushing it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's cool. That's how we get started.
Was interested to hear about the 220 because exercise science background, that's like all you hear.
Definitely. I heard that too.
Yep.
I was wondering if the 180 was kind of like your way of doing it, like where it's going to be lower and it's not as high intensity because you want to burn that fat more so in that specific zone. But it's interesting to hear that it was almost incorrect.
Yeah, definitely. And I heard that and I was like, are you sure? And then I try it. I'm like, I feel great. Like, it's really cool. Yeah, it's different.
That was my thought when you were kind of talking about the whole on-ramp process for ticker training was that like, we almost want you to enjoy exercise, and if you're a new, a beginner getting in, I've never worked out before, it's like, this doesn't have to be painful. Like, we're gonna work at a comfortable pace, and then, like you said, like, we'll build you up when it's appropriate.
Sure.
But we're not throwing you in the frying pan right away.
Yeah, we've had a lot of intros like that where it starts on the Echo bike and they've never done it before. It's like 2 minutes in and they're dying. It's like, well, it draws a certain amount of people to it, like that. I want to die in my workout, but not everybody likes that. Not everybody has to.
I know I've made the mistake with an intro where I'm like, okay, this is an AMRAP, that means do as many as you can, and they're like, yes, sir, right away, sir. And then like,
to Bobby.
and then they leave white face and they're like, I'll call you. And I'm like, I thought that was not good for the person's life. Like, what have I done? And so like, we actually do intro workouts almost never. I don't think we actually do them. We do the no sweat intro and we talk and learn about what they need, and then everything's introduced. So it sounds like, how long is the on-ramp process?
We either do 3 1-hour sessions or 6 30-minute sessions, whatever works best with their schedule. But most people want to do the 3 1 hours, and I think for myself that's the most effective for like myself and my staff. And I tell them if you can get these done in a week, it'll usually stick. The people that drag those 3 out for like a week or more, they're usually like on the fringe anyway, and then they don't end up staying with it for more than a month or 2. I'm like, all right, I feel like I failed that person, but that's them, their schedule, their whatever's in the background.
Right.
I'm gonna backtrack a second. Like before we made the transition to ticker training, we were doing traditional CrossFit. I often felt like there's this bait and switch of like, chill out during your on-ramp, and then the first session hit, and you're like, wham! And then you're like, this isn't what I signed up for. Like, and they freak out a little bit. They have like this nice existential crisis, and like, this is how it is. Like, no. It's like then I'm backtracking, like, no, this is good for you. I don't feel like I have to make that distinction anymore. I just kind of get it.
So let's talk about traditional CrossFit a little bit, so you can kind of define that for anybody listening. And when we talk about traditional CrossFit, we're kind of talking about more or less HIIT training, high intensity interval training, and it is let's say it can be a competitive platform, but really the main driving force behind CrossFit is that we are measuring fitness, which when you start to pay attention to those numbers and say, okay, I did a 20-minute AMRAP and I did 200 reps, and tracking things, and 6 months goes by and you repeat that same workout, and you get to say, okay, I did more reps, so I've measurably improved. And that's a very outside perspective way to look at it, but the simplest way to say it is that it's a strength conditioning program. A lot of fun ways to say it, like it's adult gym class. It's, it's a program that can be applied many different ways, and with 15,000 affiliates around the world, and it not being a franchise model, it is totally up to the practitioner, the coach, to apply it how they see fit. So you get some variability, but there are some mainstays, like some of the classic benchmark workouts, and the movements generally stay the same. The standards are mostly consistent around the world, like a thruster is a thruster, burpee is a burpee. So we could dig into that quite a bit, but I think for the purpose of understanding CrossFit versus this model that Chris has been using, is to understand that the CrossFit program in terms of heart rate is to go as fast as you can. So we're not putting an emphasis on what your heart's doing, and you end up finding yourself in a high heart rate zone all the time. And we're kind of saying, and this is kind of our next question, is how is it better? And it seems like what people need to understand to understand why that's better, is going back to that heart rate and saying, like, what happens at that heart rate zone? And maybe it depends on the individual, of course, but most people want to get lean and want to lose weight, and you don't necessarily do that very effectively in your maximal heart rate zone, which you may find yourself in quite often in a CrossFit workout. So how is that controlled in the ticker?
So there's a lot in here. So if we need to ask like sub questions.
Dude, I know. I was talking, and like someone was like,
she's like, I got one. I'm looking at me, and I'm like, for sure. So interrupt at any time. This is great. So we want to say that the term better is completely relative. Better for me, I think, yes, because I feel less sore, and I feel that I can be an effective gym owner and function after I've just done a session. To me, that's better. Whereas I had done a traditional workout before, where I was laying on the floor 15 minutes before class, and I asked myself, how am I going to teach this MFing class well? Not just be a body that I just check people in and say, hey, how are you doing, so-and-so. Okay, so I look at it from that perspective. Am I a better coach? And I am a husband now, so that's great. Am I a better partner to my spouse, right? Am I attentive to the needs of my members? I think so. So I think those are great. Am I not constantly broken? I think I'm pretty good on that front. Do I lift as much as maybe the 3 of you sitting in this room? I don't think so. Not even close. But relative to what I want to achieve, I'm happy with that.
We'll find out after the podcast.
Ticket training versus trail
right?
Let's go.
So it's just different. If you are a high-end athlete and you crave that, like you're coming off your post-college or maybe like a state-level competitor from high school and you want that and you crave it, great. Maybe law enforcement where you feel that you need that cutting edge against the person you might have to throw down with. Maybe traditional CrossFit's your route, because you need to be a hyper-competitive person, not just an athlete when it comes to something like that. So there is a divergence of like maybe who it is better for, which is the question we obviously have on there. Better, in my opinion, in terms of movement quality. Our squats, I think, are consistently deeper, not like way below parallel where people are bottoming out, but below parallel where they maintain that core stabilization. Nice flat back for those of you guys out there listening. Just overall mobility is better. They get in positions that they never had achieved before because their muscles are not so inflamed. So I'm like, hey, can you achieve lockout on an overhead press? I'm like, it's in front of their body, in front of the plane of motion. And the answer to that is no, it's not full range of motion. After ticker training for 5 or 6 months, it takes time. They can achieve a full lockout on more weight than they had done previously at a lower heart rate. I'm like, wow, more weight lifted, better range of motion, lower heart rate, right? What's not to like?
Yeah. You're attributing that to not being so beat up all the
Yeah,
time.
for sure.
So if we jump back and say like, okay, inflammation, where is this happening in a CrossFit workout? So think about some of your higher intensity workouts. We mentioned Fran earlier today. Or, something as, challenging as Murph in terms of volume. Like just think about how you feel in the next 48 hours after that, where you're like, I'm awful, my body hurts, this thing is doing something, and there's a muscle vibrating in my thigh. I've never felt that before. But your body gets this damage from working out, and it responds with inflammation, which is part of the healing process, and you recover from that, and that makes you stronger, fitter. But you're getting more inflammation, is what Chris is saying, because your intensity is so high. And then with ticker training, you get less of that inflammation, and that allows you to just move and feel better. So there's not as much damage done, which means you don't have to recover as much, which I'd imagine would allow you to train more often.
Or hit more reps during that session. So I trained another day, and I did more during that session than you might have. Right? Like
you could argue volume at that point.
It's huge, and we have high volume days where a Metcon might be 45 minutes. How many of your people show up on a 45-minute AMRAP day? I know, right? You just chuckle.
You don't program it.
You don't program it. Why? Because it's insane.
Yep.
Right? For just what we're calling now traditional CrossFit. We did a 45-minute AMRAP the other day, and people were like, feeling good, bro.
That's awesome.
Like, you look great doing it, too. And it was a barbell workout. Like, who does a 45-minute AMRAP for a barbell workout?
Nobody.
No one. Right? You might have some rowing in there to calm the heart rate down.
You'd have to.
Definitely. You would. Maybe that's what we as coaches and professionals need to get creative and do that for our people, where they're going to be broken and they're not going to come back, and then the temple crawls because you have no people coming in to help you. Yeah, right? So.
Question that pops in my mind is like, you have Fran that's going to be like a 3-minute workout. And then we talk about this 45.
3 minutes is fast.
Yeah.
That's solid. That's solid.
We're not.
But like,
Yeah, no, for sure. Go ahead.
but then you also have this 45-minute workout. How are they different now with ticker training?
Sure. So that's where we say, as coaches, we do need to go hard a couple times a week. So Fran would be a perfect choice. Or on one of our, we do it's called a GOAT training class. It's goal-oriented aerobic training for those who need an intro into CrossFit who don't want a barbell. There's a 4-minute AMRAP on there that I've done in a CrossFit class where it's 12 alternating dumbbell snatches and 12 calories on the the echo bike. Grip it and rip it. Hang on. Right? So it serves its purpose, but it's like in the middle of a bunch of other aerobic work. It's like, okay, you went aerobic, you definitely went anaerobic if you did it right. Fine, lay on the floor, recover. And then we're going to come and do this long recovery-esque cool down piece and then leave you on your way. It's not the only thing they'll do that day. So it definitely has a time and place. It is necessary. This is not in place of high-intensity training forever. It's just the majority of the time.
That was our day pretty close yesterday. We did like our warm-up, and then we did Diane, which is hopefully for most people like sub 10,
Sure.
at least in our community, and then after that it was do either like a 1K row, 1.6 mile echo bike, or 1,000-meter ski of the sorts. And that was, you know, take that 5-6 minutes to cool down and like do a longer stretch. It's not for anything. It's just to bring you down.
Totally. It serves its purpose.
Yeah. It almost seems like you're flipping the time domains, where like if you think traditional CrossFit, it's like, hey, I want couplets and triplets, and I want them to be like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. But I'm gonna see more of the 5 to maybe 12-minute range, and then once in a while you sprinkle in a 5K or a 10K or one of the big hero-esque type workouts where it's high volume, and you're saying like, no, we actually kind of mostly spend our time in like 30, 40 minute, 20 minute might be short.
Today was 20 was short.
Yeah.
It was a 20-minute AMRAP with biking, snatches, and push-ups in there, or kettlebell swings in there. And people were supposed to be with their green zone and their yellow zone. So for them, it's below 80% of their max, their potential. And they'll see it on the board. And if you touch orange for a little bit, of course you're not going to die. Just like, all right, calm down. Last week was really hard. We need to recover this week. Metabolically, your body needs that innate system. So your adrenal glands are shot after you've done 4 or 5 days of like high intensity stuff. Like if your heart rate goes up when you walk through the door, your body associates hard work or working out with adrenal, like I need that to go. And then what happens when you don't have it? It's like there's like the stall where you bonk, as you might call it in the endurance community, or you just crash and burn, or you turn sheet white. We got all these different phrases and terms for it, right? Like that's not what we want to happen to you.
You don't ever want to experience that. I know
No.
Kevin said that yesterday.
I've had that.
And he was like, I get the first set of deadlifts done, and then it's like I can't move anymore. He's like, I don't have that anaerobic system developed, and you just, for him working at that RX weight, you just completely deplete that system. So if you go back to exercise physiology textbooks or interval training, it's a 1 to 3 work to rest ratio. So if I just spent 40 seconds doing 21 deadlifts,
you gotta wait now.
I need to multiply that 30 seconds by 3, right? So it's 180 seconds there, and like, okay,
the workout should be over by then.
Right. So like,
then you ask yourself, was it worth it?
Right.
Was it worth doing 21 and broken? Be like, yeah, I got that. Shit. And then I'm cash money, and I'm not even halfway done. Right. And I'm not saying that any of us are egotistical, narcissistic, right? But when we talk the leaderboard, when I talk, I've done this unbroken. That's an amazing achievement, but there's also ego involved, right? And so when I tell people, especially early on, leave your ego at the door and have patience, like, and then when you go over to them when they're red or orange doing an empty barbell thruster, and you say, you need to go to the 15-pound bar, like, come again? They don't want to. I'm like, put your ego aside and do this aerobically. If it's so easy for you, why is your heart rate 150 doing air squats? It should be like 120, right? Show me, prove to me that this is easy for you. But up there, not because you can go so fast and beat Grandma Laura, who is my newest member. Like, good for you. You're a 40-year-old man. Of course you should win. Like,
I'm 40.
Whatever.
Take no prisoners.
That sounds great. It almost sounds like you get to have an entirely different tool available for the athlete to almost give them some guidance or give them some feedback. Because I think about, and as a coach, I think things are different now when you look at it, because I'm thinking about, okay, if I have an athlete doing a 20-minute workout, it's very hard to coach. Like, the coaching has to be on point. It's got to be one word, and it's got to be very direct. It's like, you lower. And I can't stop and talk to you, and I can't explain things, but if it's like, hey, you're at a level where like words can go in your ears and you can process, it's, like, the only thing I can do right now is count reps and move. It slows it down, and then your coach can like communicate with you and say, hey, this is why you need to do this, and they can go, oh, okay, that makes sense, because they're not going and hyperventilating until they.
Good luck correcting a competitor who is competing
Yeah.
during that WOD.
Yeah.
Not
that
just
drives
a,
me nuts.
not just a strength
No
piece,
way.
right?
Yeah.
So the coaching's got to be done first.
Yeah, it does. It needs to be done first. And this next point allows you to teach every single person, not at the same time, but individually. So we did several sets early on, and I've since revisited because it works so well, is one snatch, one clean and jerk, one deadlift every 20 to 30 seconds, and you set the interval. And everyone's facing the clock. 3, 2, 1, go. Watch one person. Awesome. Maybe get your hips a little lower in that deadlift, chest up nice and tall. Thank you. All right, next person. 3, 2, 1, go. Pooh. Awesome. You pulled a little early in that snatch. Your elbows were kind of cocked and locked. Let's just kind of lengthen those into the hip pocket. All right, cool. Next person. And we go down the line 60 times.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So I
coach.
do 4 sets of 15, 3 minutes of rest, heart rate controlled, but try to lift heavier, maybe 60 to 70% of your 1 RM. Can you do it? And if not, back it off, and then we work on your technique. And you just had 60 solid repetitions to practice that weren't garbage, and now you look beautiful.
Yeah.
Now I can put you in a Metcon, and I know that you'll do it that way for the most part.
Yeah.
Right?
I really like
That's
that
huge.
concept, and I would love to take that back to our programmers at home and tell them to do that.
Definitely.
That's a cool.
Yeah, and I think
session.
too, when I think about that, like how would I use that? But it sounds to me that you guys use that very often, and it's a very routine thing.
All the time.
So I mean, value for a member at the CrossFit Justice is like, okay, I'm getting more coaching this way for
definitely.
the entirety of the hour, not just maybe in the warm up, the skill work, the strength work, or the WOD prep where I'm gonna work at the WOD weight. Coach wants me to see 3 reps, coach me up a little bit, but he's also got to get everybody else in that 5-10 minute time frame. Versus like I'm gonna have access to coaching for the entire hour.
Yeah, and you add value.
Yeah.
Right? We were always worried about that. Like, did I coach my vet? Did I coach my newbie? Yep. And does it happen every day? No. We fall short. We make mistakes. Yeah. But in my mind, I have a higher chance of reaching that athlete who's been with me for 5 years and they're still learning something. I think that's huge. You hear that in the level 2, I think, more than the level 1 certification when you go out there. I love watching the YouTube videos. And this woman received a comment from a 6-month, 12-month member, and they go, "Yeah, once you hit like the 6-month mark, you don't really get coached anymore."
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, I'm devastated. Like, you don't want to hear that. It's terrible, And then you're gonna lose that person, maybe."
Yeah.
So now I'm not as fearful of that, which is great.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was the thing too. When I did my level 2, they said something that really stuck with me for a long time, is that the vet or the experienced athlete needs coaching more than the beginner.
Yeah.
Because the beginner, like, I can learn things, I can pick things up pretty quickly, but a veteran member can just make a comment like, "Hey, get your knees out," because they've heard it so much from the coach.
Sure.
But for a veteran athlete that's moving faster, lifting heavier, doing more complex movements and patterns, like, there's more at risk if they have a fault.
Heavier weight.
Heavy weight, like, okay, and you put your knee in a bad spot, like, that could hurt you. And so, like, there's, the coaching's more important the better you get. But I think people, and it's like you said with the ego, like, I can do Fran in 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes. I'm awesome, and everybody needs to know it. And I don't need coaching. And then they go build the home gym, and then start to hit things stop happening because you remove the environment, you remove the guidance, and they stay the same.
There's like no more push.
Yeah.
Like there's no more light at the tunnel.
Yeah.
Or light at the end of the tunnel where there's no other thing to reach for.
Yeah. You don't
It's
have
just
that
me.
person saying that's not good enough. You can do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you think you're great, well then,
Probably not around other people.
that's all you've done it right. I'm great. I gotta figure
Yeah.
it out.
So
I can't
good.
get any better. You just need somebody to go, that was okay.
It was
wasn't
okay.
good. It
Yeah.
definitely wasn't great. Right? So like, no, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and to add one more thing
Yeah,
to
of
your
course.
program, I think I was stuck on the adrenal comment you made earlier, where you're almost looking at the program from a like hormonal and chemical side as well.
Yeah, definitely.
It's an extra layer that I think a lot of programmers maybe don't look at. Maybe on our end too.
Yeah.
I don't think about adrenals often when I'm programming. It's like, well, you're probably gonna feel crappy that day, so let's go, at this percentage or whatever. But it's really taking into effect, like, how often have you tapped into that adrenal side? And maybe we should back off.
And there are people who just want to light themselves on fire.
Yep.
They want to come in
See
your
the
gym,
world burn.
and they want to just go, and that's how they were made, and that's how they were taught. Like as kids, no pain, no gain.
Right.
And that's how they're going to get better until they break, and they go, what happened? Like, when was your last rest day? When did you go easy in any of your sessions? And you get that skepticism, like, let me tell you. So just take a seat. Take a seat. Okay. And while we're kind of talking about all this stuff, I want to give credit to like Max and Kate down at CrossFit Treetown. Now it's Ticker Fitness. I would not be doing what I'm doing without them and have the knowledge that I do and to come share this with you. So Max and Kate, if you're out there listening, if I get anything wrong, call me out in the comments and we will fix it. But they've been an amazing source of knowledge, support, a great resource. So if you're thinking like this is cool, I want to go down this path, hit them up at Ticker Fitness. And I'm sure they want to talk to you too. I will, but this isn't my brand. This isn't my baby. I have my gym, I got my space, I got my people, but I wouldn't be doing it without them.
Yeah,
so,
when this airs, go on like Facebook and tag them.
Yeah, we'll tag them for sure.
We can follow them, and you can follow them too for all the listeners.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right on. So, you know, when you think about, I guess if you're a listener and you think about adrenals and you're like hormones, exercise science, no background there, it's more about how you're feeling after the workout. Like, what did that workout make you feel? So, for most people, if you are starting an exercise program, it's because your current lifestyle habits have you feeling awful.
Yeah.
Not eating well, not getting activity, feeling stiff all the time, the lack of energy, all of it. If you're listening, you probably know. You start working out, a lot of people do, because they want to feel better. So a really important thing to think about is what effect do I get from my workout? How does it make me feel afterwards? Right? Do I feel better than when I came in? That's an important thing to think about. And then over time, what does that add up to? So when we talk about the adrenal system, it's more like the coach or the person creating the workouts is saying, I know you felt this way after Monday's workout, so Tuesday has to look like this. Otherwise, if Tuesday is going to leave you anything remotely feeling like Monday made you feel, that means Wednesday is like wrap yourself in a blanket, stay in bed. And sip, broth. Like you feel awful. And then, what ends up happening, if that's not being paid attention to, is it starts to compound and you basically have this negative thing associated with the gym because it's hurting you. It is physically hurting you. So you get that stigma and then you start to say that's not for me. And what we're trying to get out of this is get people to say that made me feel great, and then I felt something different the other day that actually made me feel good, and it was you get some variability there.
I want to keep coming back.
Yes.
We tell our people 8 out of 10 times you should be able to say, I could do that workout again if you ask me to. Right? I could physically do it again. Not that I want to do it again, but that your body like, all right, let's go round 2. Right? Who wants to do Fran twice? Who wants to do Diane twice? Right?
Actually, that's the thing. That actually happened for me yesterday. And I don't think I've ever felt that on Diane. And it's maybe because I haven't done a short sprint type workout in a while. And I did pretty good. 5 seconds better, which is great for me. Then I was like, man, I don't feel destroyed.
Good.
Which is great, which means I'm doing something.
Yeah, and I would imagine like maybe your strength numbers are up in the background for your other lifts and your other movements too.
In perspective too, I've been doing more strength training and I've been doing 2 or 3 CrossFit workouts a week.
Okay.
And so I think maybe it's just more balance.
Yeah, which is cool. Not tapped out.
Yeah, and that's true. I haven't been doing just a purely CrossFit workout or CrossFit program. I've been kind of
a little bit of both.
Yeah. Go check our club episode out.
Are you saying immediately after the workout you should feel like you could do it again?
Yeah.
So that's totally different than
I know it is.
how I approach it. I feel like you should be dead and want to go home.
No. Like there's a 20-minute
like
handle today that we did that I could have asked any of our 515 people if they could do it again, and they would say yes.
Wow.
Okay, so Sema, we rolled in to Spartan CrossFit this morning.
We were rolling down.
Sema was doing really hard efforts on the echo bike, which if you know what that is, it belongs in hell.
It does.
Yeah, it's
And then she was doing
barfacing burpees,
equally rough, and then
clean and jerks.
Yeah.
So, and she was doing it for a while. So, could you?
There's no way.
No way. Yeah.
There's zero way I would do that again. But I feel like that's how it should be. That's CrossFit.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So it's much different than what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I would say with a new athlete coming in the door, I wouldn't want them to have my perspective on it. I don't think that's a good way for like a newer athlete. I'm curious, like what you experience with like somebody new coming right off the couch wanting to start a program. Somebody new that was a previous athlete just took a big break.
Sure. Somebody
that feels athletic comes in with a foundation. Like how does ticker training hit those kinds of people walking in your door?
I think it's a great question, and I don't really. Yes, I focus on the ticker ask portion of what we do, but I'm like, hey, I hear deconditioned athlete, couch to CrossFit person. I hear collegiate athlete who hasn't done anything for a while, maybe has their first job and has got their first house and responsibilities, right? I hear other things like just deconditioned. That's what it speaks to me. Like, hey, I'm going to rebuild you, make you an aerobic monster, and I'm make you really strong and like bulletproof-ish at the same time, like injury resistant.
Yeah.
How's that sound? Good. All right, let's go. You know, like, it's not this oversimplification. But then this is how we're going to do it.
Sure.
I'm going to watch your heart rate monitor. I'm going to have a strength portion most days of the week that you're going to be able to. Heart rate doesn't matter on a deadlift. Of course, you need a brace. You need intra-abdominal pressure, right, to make that happen. Breath holding. Your heart rate's of course going to go up. Yeah. But during this portion, this thing, I need you to listen to me. I need you to pay attention to that, not just me, but that, because this thing I'm pointing out on the imaginary screen for all of you listening is helping you. Okay. Yeah. Just kind of rein it in. I will tell you when you can go, but until then, just trust me a little bit. And I have this really good relationship of trust with my athletes. Right. And then when it works after a while, and a while can mean different things for different people, considering their athleticism or not, right? Where that's going to be and when that's going to take place. Right. So I got a pretty solid relationship with people, and I think part of that attributes itself to ticker. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. So that experience they have in class, they have that like a big monitor up in front where they can see where they're at.
Yeah.
As far as like heart rate.
And they can even get it on their phone and attach their heart rate monitor that way, and then do workouts. You know, we're quarantined sometimes, right? And they can do it at home in their garage if they got some stuff or their extra bike ride. I got many people who do that, or those who like to run. Like, put your monitor on if you want to log it. And I can see their data. It goes to a system. They all have an account. And I can be like, let's look at your stuff in the last month. Let's see where your heart rate was. So I had a young lady, this is kind of cool for all of us in here, who do two-brain mentorship, right? Little shout out to Coop, hey buddy. We do like our goals with these people. And one young lady put, I want to stay in the red only 20% of the time. Because she puts her heart rate monitor on and she's like yellow. I'm like, well, that's not a good start. She's a stressed young lady. She's a teacher. Yeah. Clearly that's a stressful job right now. Right. And she does 5 air squats and she's really creeping up. So she's holding herself accountable with our system. And I called her today, I left her a message, she's teaching. And I said, I'll show you in self-loops how to check your data to make sure that you're abiding by the goal that you wrote down. Red 20% of the time or less. Like, that's an amazing goal for you. I wouldn't have come up with that on my own for her. So we're going to work on that the next 3 months and see what's up. That's really cool.
So the device that they use, is it like something they put on their chest?
Yeah, it's a Wahoo heart rate monitor. It goes underneath their clothing right at their sternum. You know.
And they purchase it?
They do with their on-ramp fee. And I tell them it's included in the cost. They're good for 1 year. If they break, I get them a new one.
And they keep it with them all the time?
Keep it with them, because they don't really come with their names on them unless they write them. Like, don't lose it, because then I'm wearing Bobby's heart rate monitor and I screw up his score. Bobby's, so they get to keep them. For sure.
And then everything is calibrated to them, so what you see on the screen is taken into account their 180 minus their age,
and then I divide
then the colors are all...
They all go with them, for sure. And then if they know their actual math, which is one of the questions on here, like, how can someone replicate this at their house? They can do the equation, 180 minus their age, and that's their potential math. and then you divide that by 0.75, and that's their max heart rate. I would put that in. To get more specific, we do something called the Pinoe test. So Max and Kate at Ticker CrossFit, they will send a Pinoe unit to that person. Let's say they're out of state. They got some very like remote, individual design clients. And they'll say, all right, put this on. They give them the ramp up tests, 35 RPMs on the Echo bike or the assault bike, whatever. They slowly ramp that up. And then they get the test. Max and Kate and myself, I can do this too. We look at where you cross over from burning fats to sugars. And we're gonna call that like your crossover point, like your threshold, okay? But then in that data, I wanna find where Bobby, where Sema, where Mike burns fat the best and keep you there as close as possible. But I'll give you a range. Like my math is like almost 130. It's pretty low. If I do the equation, 180 minus my age, it should be 149. I'm 19 beats lower than like the actual equation. So if I worked at that equation, I'm working too hard on a consistent basis. So then I need a range. I'm not going to work out at 130 indefinitely. I'm going to try to work out from like 120 to 135 and make all of my work, for the most part, in that range, aerobic, whatever it is I'm doing. Now, if it's an orange day, I'll go a little bit beyond. Of course, red is just run it up, have fun with that. But that's how we get more specific. That's how we start to do like something with an individual design client, would be to give them a Pinoe test. I don't have that ability. I could do it the 180 minus your age, and that's how I would get that person started. I've only got one unit, and they're not cheap. They're like a car. Like you need a down payment, and then like monthly, like a lease, which is more than my car.
So it's like the most accurate way to know exactly what you should be doing to get the most accurate results. If you're looking to burn body fat and stay lean and as healthy as possible. So I think that's a really awesome feature of it. And we kind of mentioned before we started the recording is that like, does this allow you guys to be really effective with weight loss? I think this gives you probably one of the most powerful tools out there to say, here's how we can burn fat. And by the way, we can keep you safe and keep you feeling good throughout the entire process, which means you get to do it more often. Which means you're going to burn more fat and get closer to goals. Because, when people start working out, we talk about the general population. It's, I want to lose body fat. I want to lose weight. Here's a great way to do it.
Definitely.
So,
in my mind, that kind of leads me to you, Sema, which is like when you were in games mode, like what did that training look like? Was it that constant intensity, like over and over and over throughout the day, or was it that like kind of slow session, moderate session, fast session? What's that?
So I'm not your typical games athlete. I do one workout a day year round. Like I don't beat myself up, but that workout is not ever something I want to repeat. So I give it a full effort every time. And I just follow our programming. Whatever we have here is what I do. I don't often add on extra things, and I think what you'll see is my strength numbers aren't very high compared to women in my age group, but I keep up with them and all the other stuff. So like the one workout where it's a strength thing, I won't do great, but I can do everything else. So is that answering what your question was?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's you're basically saying that you're like to reach a high level of fitness, respectively, you don't have to bury yourself.
And I would say like early on, so I've been to the games 4 times, and I went to regionals the year before that. And when that year, like that was my first year of CrossFit, and I realized, oh, you can compete in CrossFit? Like I didn't even know that you could compete. Like I just started CrossFit and I saw somebody walk in with a trophy and I was like, what's that from? And then I heard you could compete and I was like, dang, that sounds fun.
First place best air squatter.
But it's amazing. So I went a little bonkers that year and like did a whole bunch of local competitions, and then I did the Open, and then I did the Masters qualifier, and then I went to regionals, and I really beat my body up bad. Yeah. And I was doing 2 workouts a day. I was doing the normal workout, and then we added on like a whole strength session. And that's back when our programming was a little crazy, because our warm-up would be like something really crazy, and then you'd go, okay, now the workout. Like, so it was really maybe like 3 workouts a day.
Cliche, my warm-up.
Yeah.
My warm-up is your workout.
And it was. They were awful warm-ups.
What year was this?
2013.
Yeah. Okay.
Or 14. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I would say back then I got really beat up. That started a shoulder injury that never went away. And I actually had a back injury too, and then I was out totally for 2015. And then I came back in 16, 17, 18, 19. I changed it up and started just doing our programming. And then last year I had my most successful year, and that was the time that I only did 1 workout a day. And I would do 3 days on, take a day off, 2 days on, take a day off. And I just stuck with that. And I was like, well, let's see where this gets me. It would be nice to go to the games, but that's not my goal. Yeah. And then when I did the online qualifier, I made it, and I was like, awesome, sweet, okay, I guess I'll go to the games. But I still didn't change anything up. I just stuck to what I was doing, and it was the best that I felt. And I never got to rock bottom like I had previously.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I had a lot of success when I had way more recovery.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's like optimizing recovery and not focusing on like volume or getting enough pieces of conditioning or strength in there. So
right.
Yeah. So to kind of prove to like Chris's point, like don't beat yourself.
Yeah,
Every day,
absolutely.
Continue to keep working out.
Right. And as you're getting older, I mean, that's even more important. I've been realizing, I mean, I'm 46, and I'm realizing how much more important recovery really is to the process. Yeah. So I'm shaking, by the way. You can probably hear it in my voice. We have the overhead door open, the side door open. We're trying to keep airflow, and it's so cold in here.
Awesome. So, you know, one of the popular programs out there right now is Orange Theory, and that program is an interval training program, and they also do a display, put heart rate monitors on people, and they display it. And the purpose of that, and I apologize because I don't know well enough about Orange Theory, but you're actually aiming to get points that are called splat points. By hitting certain target heart rate zones there. So some things are similar, maybe just with the approach. How is it different than ticker training?
Yeah, and I can't speak entirely about Orange Theory. I've never taken an Orange Theory class, so I want to put that out there for you guys right now. I'm not a hater. Like, if you can stick with any program, if it's Orange Theory, that's awesome. Please do so. Stay active. I mean, obesity rates are rampant, especially in the state that like 42% of people are listed as obese in Michigan. Like, that's insane. So if you can stick with anything, please do so. But I just think with what we do, it's a little bit more specific than Orange Theory, just because of our ability to do a Pinoy test. If they have a test like that, fantastic. More power to them. I also feel that our zones, like my zone could be different from yours. Like, I could be working in the green and you're yellow just because you're new right now. Like, your heart rate might just be a little bit higher than mine. I don't know where it is. So we could do the same kind of workout but get 2 different stimuluses. Not entirely, because they're the same pieces within that training session, that block, right? But we could have a different experience just based on our heart rate alone. Now, if that's the same thing as Orange Theory, then I guess we're pretty damn similar, and I should franchise. We'll talk about that another time.
Orange Theory, sure, we can learn more. Well, it sounds like you're paying attention to where people are currently at, and then making those adjustments in an individual plan, and allowing them to progress progress over
Yeah,
time.
I don't know how, say cookie cutter, I don't mean to offend, but like that Orange Theory is, if they have like, you must be 10 minutes at the treadmill, you must be 10 minutes on the water rower, you must be 10 minutes here. We don't have that. It's different all the time.
Right.
So
you have the personal touch of variability.
I think they have some limited movements too. Like I don't know they do the full spectrum of CrossFit movements.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're a CrossFit.
We do.
But
We do overhead squat snatches, like all of it.
Right.
Like, you know, is it more challenging with ticker? I will attest, yes, it is. It is harder to get someone to do, say, a bar muscle up with what we do than, say, in a traditional CrossFit gym. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Right? So could you argue that we've like lost what's CrossFit in the traditional sense? Maybe. But I think what we've gained is so much more. So I'm not really entirely sad about that. Now, does it change I think one of our questions here is like our target audience? A little bit. We've had a challenge at times with like, all right, who do we want to attract? Not just the couch potato. I totally get that. But I think that's a product of like, how well can you market? Not just to one type of person.
Right.
If you throw that blanket to everyone, well, you'll get everyone. We need to niche down, and that's where we are on a business level. But I don't think that's a product of ticker training. I think you can find anyone who could benefit from ticker as long as you're looking for the right kind of anyone.
Yeah.
Right. I could go after the athlete. I could go after the police force or the fire department or whatever if we so chose. I think that would be attractive for any avenue.
Yeah, and I think, and I remember my CrossFit Level 1 certification that the instructors there said, we do CrossFit because it's the best program out there. If something better came along, we would be doing that.
Yeah,
and I think
I clearly remember that.
As a business
13.
owner, you go, you know, what the right kind of program is the one that's best for the client. That's why, like in our gym, we do have that group fitness class that follows CrossFit methodology. We do have a Olympic weightlifting club, a powerlifting club, a gymnastics club. We offer specialty courses throughout the year, and when we meet a client, we learn about their goals. And we also do personal training and nutrition coaching. So when we meet somebody, it's more of a prescription. We're saying, hey, here are your goals. Here's what you want to achieve. This is the route you should take. Often for people, it's start with personal training, get coaching on a one-on-one basis, and develop that. Meet with your coach again and reassess your goals. Figure out where you're at, and maybe it's going into a CrossFit class. Maybe it's I really want to work on strength, so let's go. Let's learn how to do powerlifting and spend some time there and progress to Olympic weightlifting. Yeah. And everybody kind of takes their own journey, but I think it's the question always stays the same no matter where you're at. Like, what's the best program for me in this current moment? And then it applies to everybody. So, but I mean, I think that the interesting thing is that you've done CrossFit for how many years, Chris?
Since 2012.
Okay.
I actually started CrossFit at CrossFit Justice, and I got my ass beat.
Now you own the place.
Now I own the place, right? And it took a long time. I went and became a teacher for a couple of years. I did the whole personal training gig, and then I got out. I really enjoyed my time as a teacher. I think that lent itself well to being an owner and meeting people and students and just everybody. That was great, being organized. Trained just for a year and a half while I worked at another facility, not CrossFit, and just learned the ins and outs of business. Still learning, always learning. It's great. But yeah, to come full circle has been really special.
Yes.
So I'm excited and eager to like continue that of just like, hey, let's take it from where it was and build it back up again. It's really cool. So I think some of our other questions here are really sweet. Like I think you were kind of talking about like how you guys kind of determine your programming and the different stuff that you have. Obviously, we have a direction with ticker training and aerobically based fitness. Like, how does what you do determine like the programming for your day and what you want your gym to look and to feel like for your clientele, for your members?
Someone?
Yeah, any of you guys would be awesome. Because I've been out of this for like 2-ish years, almost, well, a year and a half, going on that of traditional CrossFit, and I would love to know what it's like. I don't have to think about it anymore like that way. It's just different.
Well, I don't do the programming. We have Michael Horton that has done the programming from day one, and he does a fantastic job, and it's been an evolution, like I said, and 2014, it was crazy with like all of the stuff. And he's really zeroed in on, I think, really effective 2-minute to an hour long sessions, you know, that really help us advance. And we go week by week, where we'll look at what direction we're trying to go and what things we're working on. We currently have this interesting focus where we're pushing things on like the echo bike or the rower, where we're trying to hit a certain calories per hour or things like that you don't normally pay attention to. It's been really, really challenging. Yeah. But he said something last night that cracked me up, that you often hear people say something like, when's the heavy barbell? But they don't ever say, when's the really aggressive row?
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
So we're kind of changing a little bit of the perspective that, wow, the row could be really aggressive. And often people look at it like, oh, I'll recover on the row for the barbell. But what if that was a little different? So that's kind of what we're working on currently. In the last couple weeks, we've been playing around with that, and it's revealed some weaknesses of mine. Like I die, and it's not something I'm good at, but we're seeing improvements. And so we kind of like have the luxury of somebody that programs for us specifically, knows our equipment, knows our people, and sees the effects it has, and then we just kind of go in that direction and like pursue it.
Sure.
So I couldn't tell you how he does it, but he works magic. I just follow him blindly, and we're good. Yeah.
We get our programming from like Max and Kate, and so it's like this larger community that we get to talk to each other. Like, hey, how'd that work for your people? Great. Oh, our people died. Like early on, we struggled to get the same amount of work done in an hour, and I had to cut stuff like sets off of these sessions. And so to tell your people, hey guys, like we're doing what they're doing in the same amount of time as they are, not on everything, but on a lot of stuff. And they've had another 1.5 to 2 years of practice than you. Like you're making some awesome progress. So to give them that acknowledgement, that motivation, it's like they're digging it. That's really cool. Yeah. You're gonna say something again.
We don't program either. We kind of delegated that a while ago.
Yeah, we did teach them how to program.
Yeah, we kind of passed down the torch, but it's Coach Nick and Coach Trina. They write it. And they follow kind of what Mainsight does, and the style of that, not necessarily what they do specifically, but kind of like 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off. Except those off days are technically labeled active recovery. So something along the lines of like what you do, longer Metcon, where it's 20-30 minutes, but typically they'll choose maybe 2 or 3 benchmarks and map out 6 to 10 weeks even, like how to improve upon those benchmarks. Cool. And even like major lifts too, powerlifting, Olympic lifting.
Yeah, so I think and that was kind of an interesting question with everything going on. So when we actually take a look at a year, and say like, okay, what do we specifically want to program for? And then most members in the gym, we kind of say, hey, you should do the open. It's a really good thing to do. So we'll actually say, hey, that's your annual competition.
Sure.
And then that's the very end of the conditioning cycle. Yeah. And then prior to a conditioning cycle, we typically do like a power cycle, strength cycle, and then something that's more of like a hypertrophy cycle, but it's not bodybuilding. There's a difference between that. We just say that it's more about building the body up and working weak links and making sure that you're durable. You can handle what the next cycle is gonna do. And so more or less just kind of like an annual plan, but within that you have like mesocycles and microcycles. So but with everything with COVID and being restricted to outdoor training when we were allowed to be outdoors and train clients again, it was kind of figuring things out. But we just got back indoors and they did a 6-week cycle on a few different benchmarks. It was Annie, Diane, and Kelly.
Yeah.
So kind of look at a longer workout like Kelly, which if you're pretty good doing it RX, it's like 25 minutes. It's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
It could be 35
40
minutes. But high volume workout, we've got the short sprint,
Yeah, 5:36.
Kids' abs go all the way up to his throat. So maybe like a mid-range workout for most people is like 8 to 10. Yeah, they commonly do like a 6-week cycle where you test and then do more of like interval training on some of those elements and then retest that at the end. And it's kind of a fun way to do it. You get to hit a workout you've done for a while, but work on individual elements within there. So
within those like 6 to 8 weeks as well, it's like you do a volume week, a speed week, a power week, a hypertrophy week, a volume week. So they're really taking it from that macro level and breaking it down to a micro level.
Yeah, and they program for the big group like an hour a week.
Yeah.
But it's I mean, we go back to like exercise science. You look at programming. It's mesocycle, which we use an annual or a macro cycle.
Yeah.
Sorry, our macro cycle is 1 year. If you're an Olympian, it's 4 years, right? You look back and go, hey, what are we gonna do for the next 4 years? Like, well,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
So you kind of get to look at that, and we look at it from a year, and then your mesocycle is kind of your intermediate. So for an annual plan, it's maybe 2 or 3 months, and then a microcycle is like, what are we doing this week? Or for us, it's like a 6-week block. So like a month and a half there. So that's kind of the way we organize it and the way we look at it, and then it's just having a goal, like what do we want our members to get better at. So, but yeah, that's a lot what we look at. 'Cause when you're a coach and you're programming, like, and you look at something like a CrossFit program that is gonna cover aerobic fitness, but also anaerobic fitness, and then you can dive into modalities like weightlifting and divide that up into Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, kettlebell training, dumbbell training, medicine ball training, and then you go into gymnastics and you go, okay, you could go advanced and say muscle ups, handstand walks. Nobody can do that generally, or most people can't. Like maybe your top 15-20% of people in the gym, but most people it's like general gymnastic stuff, sit-ups, push-ups, air squats, pull-ups, and there's so many like rabbit holes you can dive into. So, and that's maybe a podcast for another day. But yeah, I think it's I really like what I like most about tinker training is that it gets people feeling good about fitness, and is like my initial thought was like, wow, that can help a lot of people lose weight and understand that process to learn to like fitness and you grow into it for a very long time.
That's what we enjoy about it too, is I keep seeing these people like day after day, and they're like, I feel pretty good. I may have like a tweak here or there, but I know it's gonna go away. It's not like I'm really worried about that. Like, I see them on a consistent basis, even with everything that's going on right now.
I think that's probably the worst thing as a coach or business owner is when like somebody starts and like they immediately are like, I don't like this, or this is painful, and you're like, dang it.
But if you just stick with it,
you'll suffer for a few more months.
You'll love it, I swear.
So I'm rubbing my neck. You'll love it.
So it's I think that's the tough thing that you look at, and I think people they think the same way. They're like, man, I really want to get into something and just like love it. So.
Do you see this kind of like, not even like tinker training, but like a little bit more like heart rate based training going into CrossFit the next couple of years, or just in general, where do you guys see CrossFit going?
I think I could see that because it's just more data, and I think, like I always think of two-brain, like if you can have more data, why not? And I think that's a great way to like objectively look at what you're doing with fitness.
Well, if you just look at like Whoop, I mean that's been huge.
Definitely.
I had it for a year, and I was shocked actually how much happened outside of the gym that affected my Whoop. But I think more information is better.
That's why you have like Fitbits and Whoop's just like a magnification of the Fitbit. Really.
I think if you look at like CrossFit kind of opened the door and they said, hey, let's get data. Let's take what you like out of it and look at what matters maybe
Sorry, we have stuff flying by all the time. So loud.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah.
Or I'll talk louder. So I think if you look at what CrossFit did was they opened the door and they said, hey, let's use data to direct our workouts, our results, and let's take maybe the emotion out of it and just look at it cut and dry and say, here it is.
Yeah.
But then you open up things like, well, let's measure some more things. Like, let's measure our heart rate and say, like, hey, where are things going moving forward? Like, we're measuring recovery. We've talked about SEMM, which is sleep, eat, manage, move, and start measuring lifestyle factors and start coaching people on that. And it's like, well, people want to get results, live better, feel better. We can only have them in the gym for about an hour a day tops.
4% of your day.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Not much.
No.
So, but if I can say, hey, you're going to sleep 8 hours a day, hopefully. Okay, bigger impact. Let's coach you on some of those habits, and let's teach you how to do that. Let's talk about managing stress, and let's talk about developing mindset. I know that's one of your favorite things, Mike, is when you can get people to have a different perspective. Or I love catching people on negative self-talk and educating them on positive self-talk. And you know, in the gym, very simple things like, well, let's see what happens with this power clean. No. Step back. Visualize yourself completing the power clean. Do that 5 times. Those are mental reps. I need 5 mental reps with your eyes closed before you take an actual physical rep. And now go do that at work. You're gonna go have a tough conversation with a client or with an employee. Like, wrap that through your mind. What's the worst thing that could happen? Great. What's the best thing that can happen? Good. Visualize that again. Now go talk to them, right? So, like, things like that, like, okay,
They're huge.
like, the gym just made my life a little bit better. Like, that's what we want. But if we only get 4%, like,
I know.
I imagine
You got to capitalize.
you gotta capitalize.
Right? And you got to look for it. And so, 2 things that I'm hearing. One is the technology piece. You know, that's why I hated that. I hated thinking about going down this rabbit hole of more technology and TV monitors in a gym. Like, that's not what I thought fitness would or should be. And I couldn't have been like more wrong. Like, this like opened our world to so many other avenues. There are days where I'm like, don't worry about that. Don't look at that right now. Just work. Just move. I know you've had a stressful day. You're here. Thank you so much for giving us 4% of your time. That's great. And I know what Sema said, like with the stresses outside that you got from your whoop. If they put their monitor on and they have done nothing yet, and I look and like, oh, what's her face is 125 beats, and we go, did you have a stressful day? She goes, yeah, I got in a fight with a parent, I had a disagreement or whatever. I go, okay, it's a Monday, probably drinking this weekend, right? What'd you do, right? And I'm like, did you go out? They go, yeah, okay. So did you sleep? No. Okay, so you drank, you got bad sleep, and you got in an argument because of your job. Let's keep going down the list.
You ate crappy?
Have you ate well today? No, I was so bummed because this weekend I was thinking poorly, like Bobby just said a second ago. I'm like, all right, have you had water? No. Like, I just checked 5 boxes for you. That you had no idea that was like wreaking havoc on your heart rate and your anxiety right now. Let's focus on that. And so we start to have these other conversations that have nothing to do with a barbell. And that's just one more tool we can use. And I can't believe I was so resistant to that in the beginning because I'm god awful with technology. If I can learn, you can learn. Oh my goodness.
You still retain that, like, I don't know how to say it, like, personal aspect of, like, I can just come in here and, like, I'm still the machine, like, I still have to do the work, but I can use this tech to gather some data.
It just enhances your ability as a coach to say, like, you know, otherwise, if I don't see those signs right away, I'm not asking the questions. And oftentimes, I'll make it a habit when I have somebody in, I'll be like, hey, how you doing today? And it's, you know, like, are you smiling? Are you conversing? I had a client just the other day that he wasn't talking. Normally he's kind of, you know, bantering with the other members and like enjoying it. And he's just quiet. And I was like, hey, you're right today. You're pretty quiet. She's like, yeah, I just got some personal stuff going on. And I kind of felt bad because I was like, you know, I wanted to respect his personal situation, but like, do feel like and I'll probably talk to him tomorrow, be like, hey, everything going on?
Sure.
I know you're a little stressed, and just take that time to talk to them about it, because, you know, it's the role of a coach to say, hey, you know, it's a little bit different relationship. I think about when I was a youth, and, you know, my role with my coach, it wasn't a peer, it wasn't a parent, it was somebody that was in between, that had some authority, but was also able to level with you and be a friend at the same time.
Sure.
So it's kind of that unique responsibility, right?
It is. And on a funny note, like we had a conversation with middle-aged woman, and since divorced and whatever, and she's kind of like getting out there a little bit. And she met a guy, really cool. He's now a member at our gym, but this is like early on. And we're like, "Oh, girl, you like him?" She goes, "No, I don't." I'm like, "Your heart rate says beat red." Her heart rate was in fact elevated, and I was like, "That's awesome!" Like, and this is coming from someone who's very like self-reserved and like, doesn't talk about her personal life, and so I felt like we kind of invaded her privacy for a second. But like as a gym, we were like so happy for her, and she's like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, "You're lying to me." So you find out other things as well. It's just it's a fun journey. So.
Yeah, I think that's and that's one of the probably best things about doing what we do is you get to see people learn and grow, develop. We had a member come in that I got to know him very well personally. I coached him on nutrition, and we had maybe lost 60 pounds in that year of coaching nutrition. It was great, and I just remember he had some like life goals. He wanted to like get married and have a kid, and fast forward a couple years later, and he like walked up to me and was like, "Hey, he's gonna be another baby in the box soon." I was
nice.
Like,
whoa,
it's crazy. Baby. I'm like, you know, he's telling me, I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, not years ago, and you know, this is what you want in your life. So
that's cool. It's interesting to see how both philosophies can lead to the same thing.
Yeah,
just helping people. That's all it's about.
Cool.
Got different tools.
Well, I loved your perspective that you shared a little earlier. Like, if it works for you and it gets you excited about fitness, do it. And I've always had that perspective. I mean, I have 3 daughters. One of them, like all of them, have experienced CrossFit. One of them's more of a runner, doesn't really like CrossFit very much. 2 of them, they like it, but one is definitely a little more interested in it than the other. But I've always told them, if you don't like it, find something else that you get really excited about and invest in it. So my runner runs. She really enjoys it, and I want her to look forward to going. Like, if it's a fitness regimen that gets you excited, it doesn't matter if it's Orange Theory or if it's CrossFit or if it's Zumba or whatever, just move. But I like that there are people that would be really attracted to something with ticker training, and they feel like they're able to have that tailored training for their body, and they don't have to worry about everybody else in the room. They're looking at their numbers, and I think that can take a lot of fear away from CrossFit and like just focus it totally on them. So I like the idea, and different people would really enjoy it.
That's a really cool point too, because I think that I know I've experienced that several times. From like, I'm not going to go hard on this workout today, but there's my, you know, gym.
My nemesis.
My
alter ego.
My frenemy. And like, they're feeling great today.
Yeah.
And they're like, that you just see them pick up a level, and you're like, here I go.
Yeah.
But like, that was the worst thing I could have done.
Right.
And I should have stayed in my zone, but I didn't have a zone to pay attention to. But there you go. Like, it gives you feedback.
It puts on blinders.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to stress about what they're doing, because are they in their zone? You know, like you can now like beat them by doing what you were supposed to do better.
I just recovered better, and like, you know,
exactly right. You keep digging that, digging that hole that you cannot get out of. Right, because you're tired. Time to recover.
Well, awesome stuff. I
definitely.
think we'll kind of wrap it up. Chris, thank you for telling us about Ticker.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Awesome. Senna, thank you.
Thanks for hosting.
Us. It's been great. So, guys, if you want to learn more about Ticker training, CrossFit Milford is in Milford on the east side of the state.
Yep, CrossFit Justice.
I'm sorry.
Okay. There is a Milford
best
CrossFit. You'll be in Connecticut if you do that.
You're on the east side of the country.
Yeah, for CrossFit Justice in Milford, right by Kensington Metro Park. And then if you're looking down the Ann Arbor area, that would be Ticker CrossFit with Max and Kate.
Cool.
Not too far away.
How can people get a hold of you, Chris, if they have more questions?
They can follow us at CrossFit Justice. You can send me a DM. You can go to our website, CrossFitJustice.com, book a NoSweat intro if that's your thing. There's some contact links there that you can get in touch with us as well. Or info@CrossFitJustice.com is our email address.
Very cool.
Awesome. And Sema, contact for you.
Hostess, come on.
Yeah, we have a website, SpartanCrossFit.net. We're on Instagram, Spartan CrossFit, I think. Spartan CrossFit Tribe or something like that. I should know. I don't know. Look it up.
Yeah. Delegated.
If you're in the Lansing area, come out to Spartan CrossFit.
Great space.
Yeah.
Awesome space. Love the background.
Fantastic. Paint job.
It's great.
Yeah, we have an old school Pukey mural.
Yeah.
It's kind of intense.
Yeah.
It is. Brings me back.
Yeah.
It's old school
It's a
for
cool
sure.
feeling.
Yeah.
Well, great guys. So just to recap on news and events, kettlebell course is starting October 20th. If you want to learn how to swing a bell, snatch and press a double flip, all that good stuff, check our website. But if you look up kettlebell specialty course 2020.wadifyarena.com, you can find the registration page. Yes, I
Specific
rattled that
link.
off.
Instagram bio as well.
Yep. So check us out on Instagram. Find that there. More deets for sure. And then bring a friend or family member for the Halloween workout, which is on a Saturday, 31st, and have a spooky fun time. And then we have an outdoor movie night, also Halloween themed. So get in the spirit. And we'll see you in the gym. Until next time, thanks for tuning in Fit to Live Radio.
Thanks again, guys.
Anytime.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.